Hey everybody, I wanted to go over this cause and effect essay so that you can see kind of why it's good. I think that having an example to go by is always very helpful, but if you don't understand why something is, successful and why something is a better version, then it's kind of hard to recreate that. So um, let's talk about why this essay works. Um, to begin with, we have a really nice opening here where, this person's using a quote from a quote about hockey, which is what the essay is about. So we've got kind of a generalized introduction that lets us know what's going on, where we are talking about hockey in Charlotte, and then we go down here and we talk about, we can see um, why the hockey team had to move places that they played. They had to pick up and move. And this author says that the main causes for them to move back to the Bojangles Coliseum was that Time Warner was charging too much for rent, the Checkers were not making much money, and there were many scheduling conflicts with the Charlotte Hornets, with whom they shared the area. So we've laid out here, this is basically the thesis statement. Whoops, that whole paragraph is not the thesis statement. Sorry about that. This part right here, especially this last sentence. We are talking about the three reasons. Okay, so we're talking about the causes of their choice to move to a different place. And please pay special attention to the organization of the essay because they just did such a great job here. One reason that they moved back was that they were being charged too much to rent the facility, and that's the first thing listed here in the thesis statement. I've frequently, and you probably have seen this too, lots and lots and lots of teachers like to refer to that thesis statement as a roadmap, and that it's intended to kind of lay out the trip that you're going to take with the reader. And I totally agree with that concept. I think that's a wonderful way to think about the creation of and the structuring of not just the thesis statement, but also the overall paper itself. So, obviously, the fact that they're being charged a boatload of money to rent a particular area is probably going to be the most important thing out of all of these three things. Not that they're not all three important, but if they're getting charged too much to rent this particular area, they can't pay for it. They don't have the money, they can't pay for it. Case closed, we're done, everybody go home. So that's going to be the front and center reason for them to do this. So that should come first in our discussion. And so we get some discussion of why the rent was what it was and that sort of thing. Then look at what they do at the close of the paragraph. You can't just look at the beginning. You got to look at the end too. Look at what they've done here in this last sentence. High rent was a factor in the Checkers' move back to Bojangles Coliseum, but other factors also played a role. Oh my goodness, this is so great. What they've done is they have said, here's what we just talked about, and here's what we're getting ready to talk about. We're moving on to this other topic, this other part of the larger topic. Another issue that the Checkers faced that caused them to move was they were not making enough money. And now we've moved into the second thing in the thesis statement. This is so great. I love the way that this author has organized and laid everything out. And we know at the end of the paragraph that we're shifting gears so that when we start reading this paragraph about the team not making enough money, it's we're not shocked when things, when the topic shifts a little bit. It's still talking about why they moved, but we've gotten to a different part of it. And frequently students don't do this last part right here. And this is super important when you're transitioning to another idea in another paragraph. So then you can see that they do that again. They open up with this, the start of the paragraph was they were not making enough money. And then we get some more details about, why, the whys and wherefores of them not making enough money. Then we get down here to the very last sentence, and look what they did. Low attendance and not selling enough tickets to make money also was a factor that caused them to move, but scheduling conflicts was another reason they decided to move. Oh, my stars and garters. This is the best sentence here. This makes me so happy when students do this. This is great. So we're talking about low attendance and not having enough money, and different factors that made them move. So yeah, that's a great way to close out that paragraph and move on. Like we set up here at this one, other factors played a role too. Yes, okay, we get the idea that we're moving on to talk about other factors. Well, we get that same idea here. We're moving on from not selling enough tickets and not making enough money. We're moving on from that concept into the next concept in the thesis statement. But what's so great about this is they include here in their transition what's coming up. This makes me so happy. So now we go into the third and final issue, scheduling conflicts with the Hornets. And so we get some discussion of that. And then the final sentence here, all of these issues resulted in the Checkers moving back to Bojangles Coliseum and ultimately saved hockey in Charlotte. So not only does this author close out this paragraph with, kind of a summary of the stuff that had come before, but they also make reference to why this matters. Ultimately, had they not done this, we might not have a hockey team. By doing this, they made hockey remain viable in Charlotte. So then we have a paragraph. We have a paragraph here, our conclusion, where basically they just work through the larger ideas that they have explained prior to this, and then they close with a couple of really great sentences. The Checkers could not have afforded to stay at Time Warner Cable Arena another year and most likely would have packed up and moved to another city. Luckily, the move not only saved hockey in Charlotte, but it also created a local fan base that is loyal and a hockey scene that is thriving. This is super because we've kind of ended on a high note, and this paragraph sums it all up and sews it up into a nice, neat package, and then we get our works cited, which, by the way, this is a perfect works cited. I see absolutely nothing wrong here, which, again, makes me extremely happy. So when you are putting your final draft together, please do note all of these things that need to take place. And, well, they need to take place if you want to get a really good grade. If you're shooting for one of those really high grades, make sure you do these things because that's what turns it into a good essay.